So, good afternoon, Nikhil, and welcome all students. So, right now, how many people have joined? So, we have many people who have joined the session. So, a brief introduction दे देता हूँ. Nikhil actually is doing PGP from ISB and close to 6 years in experience in asset management and management consulting. So, I would like Nikhil to give a much better introduction so that I should know what exactly that 6 years of experience was. So, Nikhil, the stage is yours.
Sure. Thank you so much, Vipul, for introducing me. I'll break the session into 3 parts, essentially. I'll talk about what I'm doing right now, then I will talk a little about what my experience has been, and then we can talk about what my journey towards GMAT and the interview preparation was to get into ISP. That's the most ideal way of presenting it, is what I could think of. So, to start off, 28 years old, 3 years into marriage, done my undergraduation from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies, did my bachelor's in financial investment analysis from there, also a CFA charter holder, and here I am at ISB right now, and I can talk a little about what am I up to right now. I joined ISB around 4 months back in April when the session got started, and have been enjoying my time here since the entire four months. It's been long since I've been associated with academics, so taking my own sweet time to ramp up to things, to so many things happening simultaneously here, but at the same time enjoying a lot. Plus, I'm also heading the biggest club here at ISB, which is the consulting club. So it's a membership of around 400 odd people and a core team of 12 to 13 people. So it's an experience in itself because I have a fair bit of consulting experience. So I felt it will be a good idea to help others as well to transition or pivot into consulting as to how they can actually make their way into this entire industry at large. Talking a little about, also I'll keep my entire kind of introduction a little surface level so that you have a basic idea about me, and then you can just throw away targeted questions about whichever area you would like to, and I'll be happy to answer them. Talking a little about my experience, I started off with a boutique asset management firm, then going on to Bain, the Bain Capability Network. I was working there as a part of the private equity group for a couple of years, 2.5 years. Mostly I was working there on commercial due diligences, a lot of points of view, a lot of capability building as well, as a part of which I was conducting some Excel training, some Qualtrics training, and a couple of their proprietary products as well. There's this Bain APAC private equity report, which is something that was a huge contribution which I was a part of. It is an investment report that Bain publishes every year. What it talks about is the investment landscape, the investment activity, deal activity, exit. All of these things happened throughout the year. What were the reasons behind that? What is the outlook looking like in the APAC region at large? That is something that I was working at. After that, I spent 1 full year working on a startup, which happens to be of my wife. She's running it since the last 8 to 9 years now. But she started it as a passion project, did not realize that, with scale, there are some problems which might arise. And that was the time when we realized that there are some logistical or scale operational problems that are arising. So we decided that I'll rather put a focused 1 year on that. I was working on 2 aspects in the startup. One was the growth part and the other was capability building part. As part of the growth aspect, I was helping in marketplace expansion. So we got a lot of products listed on Amazon, Flipkart, Amala Earth, Vanity Wagon, if you've heard of these platforms, which led to a lot of awareness generation in general. As part of the capability expansion, what I was focusing on was building the staff capacity, increasing the number of employees from 4 to about 15 or 16 odd people, then helping sort the logistics part of it, because it being an organic skincare brand, there's a lot of logistical challenges that we face to actually source our products which come from Upper Himalaya. So having a good logistics chain in place is something that helps, have a smooth operations in place. Then a lot of customer journey optimization as well, because you can imagine if the customer journey is not optimized, there's a lot of customer queries that can come into daily operations, and there's a lot of employee time that gets wasted or used up there. So it's very little time left for core operations. Thereon, I moved on to Alvarez and Marcel Global Capability Center. It is a company that got started just 2.5, 3 years back, and I was the first person who joined that company. So it was started by my MD, who hired me as his first employee, and then now at this point in time, it is a 700 odd employee big company. So I just left A&M 4 months back before I joined ISB, and I mean I've seen the entire company grow in front of my eyes. So as part of it, I was also working in the private equity performance improvement group, very similar to what I was working as part of Bain. The work and the diligences were a little more deep and different from what it used to be at Bain. Beside this, I used to also work on a variety of different aspects, because you can imagine it's a very small institution, just got started, just a few people. So I worked across recruitments, caseworks, a lot of SOP building, all of these stuff. Now just think of it, no, if everything was going so good, why would I actually think of doing an MBA in general? What was it that was triggering me or that made me think about doing an MBA? There was something, whenever I was working on a diligence, I was always comparing myself to my colleagues or peers or the manager who was actually handling the entire project part of it with the client. Looking at them, I always felt that there's something that I'm lagging right now, and something that they are looking at things differently and I am not. I always wanted to move to the front end side of things and also have a traveling job, which I knew will be very difficult without an MBA. And even if I got one without an MBA, I might not thrive there because of these areas where I thought I was lagging actually. So I thought MBA will be a good idea to actually go have those skills, fill those gaps, and then go on to where I wanted to. Now I'll talk a little about the preparation part of it. I have the idea. I have to do an MBA. I know the right gateway to enter an MBA. A school like ISB was through GMAT, and ISB was the only school, by the way, I was targeting for a lot of different reasons. I can talk about it later on in the Q&A part. I took 2 attempts to clear the GMAT, to crack the GMAT. First of which was the Classic Edition. The second one was Focus Edition. Classic does not exist now, so Focus is the only one which is an option for aspirants right now. My personal opinion is that Focus Edition was much more better and much, I know, as the name itself suggests, it was much focused on key areas or the specific areas, while Classic Edition was a little all over the place. So it's a good change, I believe, and this is my personal opinion. I'll talk a little about what were the things that I did for the first time when I was preparing for GMAT. What were my learnings from that? I could not clearly make it the first time, but I did have quite good learnings from that experience. So the learnings that I had was that I was focusing a lot on quantity but not quality. My focus throughout those 2 months was to cover every inch of it, every bit of it. I should not leave any question behind. And what was I actually doing in this rut was I was not focusing a lot on the reasoning side of questions, how a particular question was solved or supposed to be solved. While I did it, I did not get through that question. I looked at it superficially and moved on to the next one. That is not something that's ideal, is what I now think which would have been done. So that was first learning, and there was some time pressure as well, because it's been quite some time that I was away from studies. So I mean, that clock ticking, just imagine, I had a lot of frameworks in my head, but I was lacking to actually apply them in the exam because the time clock was ticking. I was just rereading the questions again without those questions and the answer options settling in my head. So that took a lot of time without, much return in all of these questions. So the second time I planned to go on for preparation, I focused my mind. I dedicated a specific. I made a planner of sorts as to what are the key areas that I have to dedicate more time and effort for, and what are my strengths already. Like quant was something which was my strength. So to maintain my strength and to improve on the areas I lacked. Clearing the second attempt of the exam, I moved on to preparing for the interview. While preparing for the interview, I again seeked help from my seniors. They helped me give me some inputs on what are the interviewers looking for in a candidate. How should you actually prepare and go for an interview? And then they also helped me take mock interviews as well. I mean, I gave around what 7, 8 odd mock interviews, and I can clearly imagine the improvement which I showed from the first mock interview to the seventh or eighth mock interview. I mean, if I myself now look at all of my mock interviews, I would not have, admitted my own self if I were the interview looking at the first few, definitely. So something that's very helpful, that's a must do. I mean, there's no second thoughts about these small elements while preparing for an interview. Some of the key focus areas, I'll talk about some key focus areas, some small pointers which the interviewers are looking for. It is not about your, extra knowledge, the deep insights that you show, which is why interviews for, I'll talk more about ISB because I have just done that. So, which is why ISB interviews are very different from interviews of some technical interviews of places like IIMs. They focus a lot on what all do you know. I mean, the presence of mind, the intellect, how honest you are, and take my word for it, honesty is the biggest thing they're actually looking for. If you are just using buzzwords or faffing around things, they will catch hold of you. So just be very honest in your interviews. The candidness in your interviews, they're looking for it. They're looking for articulation, richness of work experience, and well planning for your future ahead. They want to know and they want to see what are the areas, what are the reasons because of which you've decided to do an MBA, and they want to see you as a person focusing on your own culture, future. And that just gives them a reason that yes, you want to do an MBA, you are very determined, and that's about it. You don't have to tell them that I made an impact of these many billions in my job, because all of them have been there and done that. They are ISB alums themselves. That's about it. I wanted to keep my brief introduction like very brief truly, and focus more on the Q&A part of it. So we can open the floor for question answers, and I'll be happy to answer the questions that you may have.
I think the first question should come from me. Nikhil, looking at the work of yours, quite a good experience, I can say. So I'm not very sure, or I'm not very clear about your why MBA part. That is, you were working in a good asset management, even in the consulting. So it was quite a good experience, and why not to spend that 1 year which you're spending in the ISB in getting more experience in the same kind of a domain. I थोड़ा सा क्लैरिटी नहीं आता है वो वाई MBA. I'm still not थोड़ा सा वो आप थोड़ा वो मतलब उसे पॉइंट को प्रेस कर.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The most important reason of me going for an MBA was to move from backend to front end. So if you know BCN, Bain Capability Network is the backend side of Bain.
Voice थोड़ा सा loudly करना.
Am I audible? Hello?
No, you are audible to me. The whole thing is it's very low voice.
It is low voice. I need to speak louder.
Loud.
Sure. Let me just put it closer to me. Is it better?
Yeah, please tell.
Okay, cool. So I was saying the biggest reason of all was to move from backend to front end. As you would know, Bain Capability Network is the backend side of Bain, and similarly, the Alvarez and Marsal firm that I joined, it was something which was backend side of Alvarez and Marsal, which was starting 3 years back from now. So being in the back-end side of things, I always wanted to move to the front-end side, because just imagine, no, I am working on a project, I'm working on things which are led by somebody else who's sitting in the front-end office. I always wanted to be that somebody else managing the entire project from the front side and, delivering it to the client. Being in,
Front means management.
sorry,
Front means front and the back end. What does it mean? Front means the management people.
front and back end in consulting, how it goes is that you have a front end office who deals with the client, then they have you can imagine us to be their helpers. We are the ones who help the front end consultants who then send the material to the client. You can just, so it's a two layered thing. I wanted to be at the first layer, not at the second layer. That's
With the face
precisely.
rather.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Achha, one more thing which I would like you to talk about is, you said, if I've heard it correctly, that you wanted only to go for ISB.
Yeah.
So मतलब ऐसा क्यों करना है? मतलब usually most of the people in the GMAT would be aiming for Ivy Leagues or maybe US, maybe Canada, maybe Europe. So why exactly that focus on the ISB?
So there's no particular reason for that. I will tell you, there's just a personal reason for this. I told you that my wife has her own startup, right? So the opportunity cost of moving out was a little high. So if we move out to either US or Europe or Canada or Singapore, she would have to travel a lot to manage her business. And if she would do that, her business would also suffer because of lack of her presence. So we thought there's nothing like an option of doing an MBA from a B school like ISB in India, while she can also keep focusing on her business. So both of these fronts were very sorted. So which was the only reason I planned not to go for an MBA abroad.
So, Nikhil, even in my last talk with one of the IM guy I was talking to, I asked this question, and this question even I wanted to ask to you. Any business school, are they making a good employee? Are they making a good manager, or are they making a good entrepreneur? So any business school, even if in the ISB you have spent 4 months now, so
Yeah.
what exactly you're getting trained for?
That's a good question. The answer to that, I mean, I'll keep the answer twofold. One is, what do they plan to focus on, and the other bit is how things naturally turn out to be. So a place like ISB specifically, or any business school at large, focuses on putting you on escalating you on whatever path you've decided on. So for example, if you go to any business school having in mind that I want to scale my business, you already are an entrepreneur. Or if you are not an entrepreneur and want to be an entrepreneur, there are so many avenues, so many elective subjects, so many business professors as well, so many entrepreneurship clubs. They also have their funding, incubation center, all of these things which help you be an entrepreneur or scale your startup. That's first. The other part is to help somebody become a very good employee or a manager. Just think of it to be a manager, because you start as an associate or a senior associate, but eventually be a manager. So broadly, every subject, you talk about operations, you talk about economics, you talk about any of the business subjects they have, all of them are centered around making you a very good employee in terms of insights. So the difference is that before joining a B school, you are working in a corporate, which is fine, but you are looking at things from what they are currently. What, like, if you are looking at some reports, or you're looking to do some piece of work, you are just completing the piece of work. You are not looking or reading between the lines, or the insightfulness of it is lacking. If you're looking at a chart, you look at a chart, you say that yes, these are the trends, but you might not be saying why are these trends in place. So effectively, it increases the insight part of it. So you go on to become a good employee, a good manager, and a lot of people I've seen go on to becoming entrepreneurs after a few years of employment after these schools. So the answer is that it gives you a good insight. You can use that insight into either of these areas. A lot of people go to jobs and then start their own big ventures.
Okay. So Nikhil, let's say if anyone is a graduate, let's say moving from in the final year of the graduation or started right after the graduation, if that person is having two choices, let's say one is you can move into some MNC and get some role of an associate or something, or senior executive. The other is maybe a startup where you will have a much bigger role, much bigger responsibility, much bigger So like the scope of vision and everything. What exactly a person should choose and why?
That is a question that I have felt myself because I worked at both a startup and a big company. So I started off with Acura Cab Consultancy, which was a startup of just 4 people. Out of those 4 people, 2 people were the founders themselves. So just think of it. It was just a team of 2 people in the startup. So I was a part of that startup, and from there on, I moved to Bain. Bain was a company which was as big as 500 people. Now it is as big as 2,000 people in that one office. So I've had flavors of both of these places, and this is something that I would recommend to anybody and everybody, because when once you're fresh out of graduate, working as part of startup gives you a lot of opportunities, which is what we see as a trend from here at ISB as well right now, and from undergraduate colleges also. Because the team size is so small, startups typically don't have a lot of hierarchies. You are expected to help into different domains, different verticals on a daily basis. So you are not just expected to do your job repeatedly every day. So the kind of learning that you do there, I mean, talking about my experience at Acura Cap, I was just hired there for some fundamental financial research and performance reporting. But I was also doing some storytelling and communication with the clients as well when the other people were unavailable, or when I was there upfront, client query came there. So a lot of stepping up happens in the initial few years, formative years. And after that, when you move on to a bigger firm, you know how things need to be done, and you are already very proactive in your approach. And once you are, you can thrive there very well. So that's my short answer from my own journey, is what I see.
Nikhil, what's your long and short term goals? Let's say 5 year down the line or 10 year down the line. Where exactly Nikhil would like to see himself?
So that's a typical interview question I have answered for ISB as well. So
Actually, this is you can't get a understanding of any person
exactly,
if you're looking only at the past and you're not looking at what exactly the person is aiming for or what exactly is a plan.
right.
Linear जब तक दिखता नहीं ना, you don't exactly understand what मतलब वो person personality
That's very fair, and which is why this question is asked almost everywhere. So, if you ask me the short to medium term goals, I plan to actually go and work in the industry what I actually aspired for. So, when I was working before ISB, what led me to go into ISB was to be at that position, to be at that place where I saw my directors or my managers working. So that is the immediate medium to short term plan, because I know for a fact that will teach me so many things that I wanted to learn. And the longer term fact is because I've also worked on the startup for 1 year. It is something that, and I also see, I mean, that startup running right now in daily life as well. That is something that gives me a lot of insight and interest into working on so many things at once. But it is a long term goal for a reason, because I know for a fact that right now I'm not very capable of kind of scaling things beyond a particular point, because you need to know a lot of things, how work is done, how you have to scale your team, how delegation is done, how task planning is done, all of these things. So once I am working as a consultant for a few years, I'm very sure that I'll be adept at all of those things by the next few years, probably 4, 5, 6 years, probably 8 years. I mean, after that, the longer term plan is to, put all of those learnings into something that I can build on my own.
one question even from the student I'm asking. Usually, many of the people have an understanding that GMAT is only for rich people. You have a dollars में the fees देना है. Maybe 16,000 or 17,000. What exactly is the amount right now?
Yeah, it's around
Then
60. Yeah.
So after that, even if anyone is aiming for Ivy League or something, you are talking about dollars or euros or whatever. So how exactly you think, is it only for rich people, and what exactly, if any middle class person is aiming for a MBA from, not from ISB but let's say Ivy Leagues, so what
Yeah.
exactly is the avenues there?
So that's something, I mean, that's a very natural question to happen, honestly. So that is something that a lot of people have on their minds, because of which they delay their plans to do an MBA. But if that is the case, I would recommend do not do that, because uh, First off, I mean, there are a lot of middle class people who come into B schools to do MBAs. You talk about Indian schools or foreign schools alike. Here at ISB, there are so many middle class people. I mean, I myself belong to a very middle class family. If you talk about foreign schools as well, I understand their fees can go on to 1 CR as well, 1.5 crore as well. But you don't have to look at that 1 crore number sitting here in India. So just do some numerical analysis. You are there in a B school. Let's say, for example, you are at HEC Paris. The fees, for example, is 1 crore. You will spend that 1 crore. The placement that you will get from HEC Paris is not 30 lakh. It's not 40 lakh. It's not like what you will get in India from a place like ISB or IIMs. You will get a placement which will give you around 1 CR as your income when you are working there. So the right approach would be, I mean, this again is my personal opinion, looking at some numbers. You go there, you spend your fees amount, then once you start working, if you have plans to come back to India, just work there for at least a couple of years. Once you work there a couple of years, you will be able to pay back your loan, earning in dollars, paying in dollars, and then you can freely come back to India. It's not like you spend in crores, you have to pay back in rupees. No.
Nikhil, अगर मैं ऐसे बोलूं, you will tell me whether I'm correct or not. That people go for business school not for learning, but rather the branding.
That's not true. I mean, that's a part of it. So if you ask people who have come here or who go to any B school for that matter, unless it's a B school which is not worthy at all, I mean, people go there for learning. So if I were to divide it, branding of a B school will be a part of it, but the kind of learning that it provides. Every B school has their own different focus. For example, ISB focuses a lot on research part of it. The faculty is very research driven. Plus, they have a lot of experiential programs. You talk about industry tracks, you talk about experiential learning programs, you talk about the smaller stints that people do with the corporate companies. All of these are based around working with the companies, interacting with the companies. Some other B school might be focused more on the academic side of things. Some other B school might be focused more on the networking side of things. So every B school has their own some unique, I would say, value propositions. So people do research about it a lot, make up their minds to choose a B school basis these, while having branding or brand name as a support or a peripheral reason for that matter. It should not be a core reason. You should not go to ISB or you should not go to Harvard only because it is Harvard. You should choose a B school because it is Harvard and because it provides XYZ.
A tricky question and last one. I just want to pitch a googly question kind of a thing. Let's say a person is trying to learn swimming, let's say.
Yeah.
So there can be two approaches. एक तो है straight away water में jump करते हैं और swimming सीखते हैं. और दूसरा है कि let's have a theoretical session of let's say some months about swimming. So what exactly you think is the best way to learn swimming?
For this, I would need to have some context about this. So, I mean, see, as long as it's not too deep, you can actually jump into the water and learn swimming. But if it's too deep, I would obviously not recommend jumping into the water and learning swimming. So it depends on the risk and the kind of risk or the cost benefit that you have at hand for any decision to make for that matter. If the cost of that decision is very big, I would suggest going slow. But if the cost is not too big or risk is not too big, I would suggest just giving it a try.
चलिए ठीक है, it was great talking to you. मजा आया आपसे बात करके. It was great when learning for all the students even. So I think at the peak there were 500 students in the live session. So I think all the people learned a lot. Even as a teacher, I learned a lot. तो हम निखिल से अब मिलेंगे दोबारा. I think when he would be completing his PGP. So we'll try to understand. Then also we would be asking a question कि आज के निखिल में what is the difference between that Nikhil whom we met a year before.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful and a pleasure speaking with you and interacting with all of the viewers. I've dropped in my LinkedIn profile URL. If anybody would want to connect, you can drop it in the YouTube chat if that's okay. So you can feel free to connect and ask anything about it. I mean, I'll be always happy to help and be approachable.
You are in the Hyderabad campus or Mohali?
I'm in the Mohali campus.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. Bye.